All right, Raymond, what you got for me today?
Uh, First of all, as always, it's a pleasure to be in any form of presence with you in any way, even across miles and miles. I can just feel it off you, just across the cellular data and everywhere I can just feel it. So I'm glad to see you. It's been a while. So
Yeah, it's been
that's
too
ecstatic.
long. It's been too long since we've done an interview.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
what are you going to break down for the audience today, sir?
Well, in general, my overall expertise and my overall what I major in is the concept of yoga and or sutras or tantras and or the Vedic Ayurveda experience. And or as being a lineage holder, I hold many preliminaries as to how to expand our horizons and consciousness to push our evolution forward and as well to keep these lineages kind of safe, pass it on. But I was thinking a good important motive and an important concept that I need to do is put it more into a medical terminology because there's a huge misunderstanding on yoga. What is yoga? And I wanted to kind of like Americanize it a little bit. I wanted to flip it on its head a little bit and more of a scientific, approachable from a medical point of view.
Well, explain to me then what is yoga in your words?
Okay, well, I will split off then from the true meaning of yoga and to how I want to turn it in a way.
Yeah, let's go.
Um,
Yeah.
right. Okay, cool. Awesome, sir. Awesome. Okay. Well, first of all, there's a misunderstanding and it's respectful. It's respectful. And it's no one's fault, but there's a misunderstanding that yoga is just stretching, being flexible, breathing, saying om, za, on this concept. But this is not all that yoga really is, and that's not ever what it truly is and never will be. This is just, that is just an Americanized term of yoga, just stretching. But really, it's so much more than that. It's a way to really truly reach inside. There's ways for our nervous system, our central nervous system,
Would you say it's
to
westernized and is that okay? Is that applicable as well? Not just
yes,
Americanized? And also
yes,
too, is it comparable? I'll make this analogy to our modern mass-produced food today. Things like spinach, carrots, and celery that barely have any nutritional value, therefore making us
correct.
eat more. It's still called
Ah,
carrot, but if we wind back the clock to perhaps, let's say, the 1600s, they would be significantly more nutritious and, of course, non-GMO. So
of course,
basically,
even the
yoga
air we
has
breathe.
lost its meaning. It's just the husk, what looks like yoga.
Right,
I'm trying to
right,
draw an
yes.
analogy.
No, no, that's good. I want that. And that's perfect, actually. That's a great analogy. We're barely receiving the fruits of it at all. We're
Yes,
barely, understanding it as a whole. We're barely understanding it as our culture.
it's lost its
Uh,
true meaning, and we're left with the
yes, yes,
husk.
yes, yes. And you're right. It's just in Western, it's not just in America, too, especially America, but it's not just America. It's been westernized completely, and complete misunderstandings. A lot of these texts, a lot of these tantras and sutras, the real meanings were hidden as well, and are, as we mentioned before, burned or destroyed. Either due to England or China. Around the 1950s or so. So either way, this was lost in translation in a way. And see, that's why lineage holders exist because the whole meaning was supposed to be from oral transition, from one master to another to another. And only orally can someone truly understand, which is why I impart to you, and you're the only one I can trust. And this way, I won't just have interviews with anyone when it comes to these details.
Well, I'm flattered. I'm sorry. I'm writing notes for our bio.
Oh,
Please
I
continue.
understand. I understand. Yes, yes. I even have same thing just in case I want to take notes or something. So I always have a pen, pencil, paper ready too.
It's real smart. I can jot things down on the fly. When I've
Yes,
talked to
yes.
previous guests that have
Mhm,
nothing personal to you or I, but just have
mhm.
cured cancer or lived other lives and they're just spouting off stuff. I have to write down things just so I can look them up later because I'll get lost.
Right. Yes, 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 yes. And see, that's the amazing thing when you're recollecting a memory or when you're recollecting all this information. Sadly, it doesn't always come with a filter, and it's gonna come out, repeatedly, fast sometimes. So in general, I try to put everything and jot everything down in a slow way that can be communicated and understood. Because there's indeed, and especially in this vast subject, there's a whole world of true yoga and tantra. And as mentioned before, tantra, the heart of yoga, meaning is continuum or to expand. Now, yoga has a lot to do with Buddhism. Now, what is Buddhism but the nature of the mind? People think that Buddhism is a religion, but actually it is not. I have met priests that said Buddhism helps them and their connection to God. Now, that makes me happy. Now, that touches me, and that's fascinating. Now, why is that fascinating? Because what is Buddhism then? It's a nature of the mind, the preliminaries to reach within the mind. because we get distracted all the time with ego and being in this samsara. We call it samsara, being on a hamster wheel. But see, true yoga is breaking through. You want to get out of this rat race. You want to get out of this, or else you're going to keep on being reborn and reincarnated, and you're going to forget and forget and forget. So yoga directly cuts through this, and it quite literally is a quantum leap, so to speak. So true yoga is working with your. Go ahead.
Okay. You're saying yoga is the antidote to higher consciousness.
Yes, it literally is a push for evolution. It literally is a push for evolution itself. It is willed concentration evolution. It is a way to literally fuel our evolution before something happens.
Evolution of the soul?
Evolution of the body too. It has been proven that during extreme duress and chaos and/or extreme love, this is when evolution is pushed. So we're reaching a very critical moment, right? Yes, sir. Traumatic. In theory, if one can will it with complete concentration, they can push evolution for themselves. No AI, no artificial supplements, nothing injected. I won't even say that word, but the point being is, okay, so we're reaching in our culture a time when it's interesting and becoming popular to mess with our DNA. It's that interesting.
The point I was going to make. Yeah, between the calcification of our pineal gland in our brain, which I heard can be detoxified through boron. I'm not sure which kind, or maybe just boron itself.
Mm-hmm.
And also too, these I hate how they call it vaccine, because it's not anymore. They're calling it that buzzword, that way that if there's any liability, if they need to be held liable, they as in the manufacturers, you don't get to go to a jury trial. You're going to go to a very special court where you're going to sit, it's going to be a bench trial, if anything, if not a quick settlement. So that's just a damn shame. And those are two, I think they're being attacked by design, between, our food, our poisoned water supply, Bill Gates and others atomizing or aerosolating things in our upper atmosphere. It's to blanket us in poison, to not allow humankind to reach its full potential. And what you are doing today, you're the tip of the spear, reaching these barriers, these artificial barriers put on us by our own kind.
Right. Yes.
To help supplement people with I guess the resources that they might have lost faith in and or were not known, they did not know about. So yeah, I'm going to quit interrupting and trying to make analogies. Just get down to the nitty gritty on what people can do. Like, hey, I'm Joe Smith. I roll out of bed. What can I do to ascend to a higher consciousness that I can't find anywhere else?
Oh, well, first of all, your input is actually valued and needed in a way. And it's good to have two counterparts in this method, especially to understand and to correlate with each other. And it's important, so it's good to have that back and forth. It truly is. And I want those questions, so I can help elaborate what this truly means. So I will say this, and I will end what yoga is with this, because this is just simply putting it straight to the top. So there's a way to control our central nervous system. Okay, so our body every day, it's autonomous in a way where, are we really governing it? It's run a lot by our medulla oblongata. There's the cerebellum involved, there's cerebrum involved. And so when we digest food, are we really doing it? It's doing it on its own. So all these little factors are taking in all the time. The breathing, the heartbeats, it's happening on its own. Okay, so there's this life force energy.
What do you chalk that up to? Me not having a medical degree. That you call that your subconscious, or there's certain things like the body's going to do whether you like it or not, or you're aware of it or not.
Right.
I.e. puberty or female menstruation. You don't just get a ding notification in your mind.
Right.
Right. I'm going to have my period now. The body's going to carry on these processes.
Right.
It's some sort of instinctual subconscious. I'm sure there's a word for it.
In recent years, and that's a fascinating concept, actually. That's fascinating because it goes hand in hand with the science of yoga and the science of Hindu breathing. So see, scientists they know there's a certain something in the air. The closest they can get to is oxygen. But there's even something in the oxygen. There's even something in everything around us. For lack of a better word, scientists will call it nerve force, or the force of nerves, or how the neurons fire between one point and another point. Now, when you go into Vedic and or shamanism, this is called prana. Of course, prana. Everyone has heard of prana. So prana.
Go over it again. Wait, trauma or prana? What do you say?
Oh, prana with a P. Prana.
What is that? Why don't you tell everyone again? Refresh our memory.
Prana, prana, the life force of everything. In Egyptian, it is called Rushamin or Nekshamin, meaning the breath of life, the life force of everything. In Latin, it is Animus Mundi, the life force of everything. In, like I said, in Tantra, continuum, the life force of everything. So see, whether it be Egyptian, Nekshaim, Rakshaim, the breath of everything, or prana, the English term. So there's different terminologies I can call this. Prana, Rakshaim, Ruach. It goes back to the breath of life. It goes back to the spirit of life. Okay, everything has it, even in a way, inanimate objects, in a way, to a point, have it. Okay, it resides in everything. It permeates in everything. This prana, this life force, or Rakshaim, Ruach, or as I've called it before, Animus Mundi, this life force that governs everything. And our central nervous system, through yoga, has a direct impact and a correlation to this, and how we can impact the prana within and outside. So the best thing to do is push for our evolution and not be distracted. We cannot be distracted by outside forces, and we have to push for our own evolution. This is indeed possible, to literally push our own evolution for what's coming. In the Vedic text, and all these cultures and all these texts, it shows that we're at the end of a cycle. It's not so much about being religious. It's not about being a religion, but there is cycles involved. In the solar system, in the tides of the sea, there is cycles to everything, to the breath, to our heartbeat. There's cycles involved. Okay,
Yeah,
so we're
solar,
young creatures.
galactic. There's many
Right.
cycles, and many of these cycles are covered up as well.
Yes,
And
yes,
ignorant,
yes.
The powers that shouldn't be a very ignorant, surface-dwelling civilization, of course, that they can control and subsequently wipe out at their whim, just to get off on the negative energy, which is a
Yes.
crying shame, which is notions you and I can't relate with. But what the CIA uncovered, or finally released, I think it's the book called Adam and Eve Tale or something, I don't know. But I mean, for them to want to cover up simple books like that, or I don't know if it was a parable or a fable. Forgive me for not being clear on that. I didn't have
Okay.
prep for this interview, but there's just tons of cyclical processes of this planet and others. Some are artificial, like the moon being in tidal lock. I could go on forever about that, but it's just it's a shame when human potential is covered up, and it's another reason why I have you on the show. Forgive me for that, but yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, so a huge misunderstanding, and I'm sure you've heard of this, is the chakras. And I would love to just elaborate to a point. What are the chakras? You hear that word, and everyone thinks they're either metaphorical or they're in there, but they're just, no one really points them out. Okay, so I want to be very specific here in medical terminology. Okay, very specific. Around the coccyx and the coccygeal bone. Okay, the tailbone. Okay, around the coccyx, the perineum, going all the way up. Okay, from the solar plexus is another central point to the heart, to the vasudha, the throat, and then up here, okay, to the third ventricle. Okay, so this is important. Around the third ventricle, there is a hollow space. The Hindu terminology for it is Brahma Gopa, but in medical terminology, it is the third ventricle. Around the thalamus and the hypothalamus, okay, and the choroid thalamus, okay, and the choroid, there is, okay, as we would know, the pineal gland, the Tigre Tangpa, okay. Now this completely correlates in a medical terminology verifiable way, and this completely helps in conjunction to what Buddhists would not understand, because they don't study medical terminology as well as I can balance it for the American to understand. But I will never say and take credit, this is all for the lineages. I just need it translated in a way that Westerners can understand. So along the spinal cord, the central nervous system, there's hundreds and thousands of just traffic information going that we're not directly in control of. Our body just controls it whether we like it or not, in a way, as we discussed right now. So there's a way to, with will, control the traffic in the spinal cord system. Okay, we can control everything from all the way from our perineum all the way to the spinal cord to the top. Just everything, literally. Okay, by concentration and non-dual meditation. No, nothing else needed, actually. So along the central nervous system highway. And all these thought streams and all these neurons, there's ways to control it. That's the point. So that's what yoga is. Deeping inside that nature of mind. What is mind? So we go deeper into this, and that is yoga. And the tantras in explicit detail, it mentioned this. I want to start by explaining the stomach, the solar plexus, a huge misunderstanding about the solar plexus. You hear this a lot, breathe from your solar plexus, and or the superiority of the psychic aspect of the solar plexus. At first, no one would understand what that means, because what are you going to think? The stomach? Food? What? I know, right? Okay, to be more specific, it's closer to the spinal cord. All these chakras are on the spinal cord, okay? They're actually around the spinal cord. You won't hear this part. Even the throat chakra is not in the front, but more the back of the neck, actually, the nape, okay? Back here, actually, right under the sutures. There's a little indentation, okay, right by the ears behind here. So, point being, it's going along the spinal cord. If we can control and access this, it releases so much phenomena, releases so much vitality. So it all starts in a way from the solar plexus, which is actually one of the first things, if not the first knot, that's created in the womb. And that's very important. In the womb, that's where everything starts, and that's why it's so important, that solar plexus. Now, behind the epigastric region, there is gray and white matter, like a brain. It's amazing. And we're barely, as Westerners, starting to understand this. But yet, this has been known for thousands and thousands of years. And so when America finally finds this, they're going to name it something else probably and take all the credit. That's fine. But yeah, so behind the epigastric region, there is gray matter, literally like a brain. And there's all this stored prana. There's all this stored energy. Okay, like a camel can, or how other animals can store different things. We actually do store and have a storehouse of energy right in the epigastric region. There is all this untapped prana, and there's all this untapped energy right behind the epigastric region along the spinal cord. And in conjunction with this, with concentration and non-dual meditation, there's ways to push out the energy from here upwards and throughout the entire body, into every subtle part, to do what we need to do to help protect and or help people, and or just to have a longer life, and or to heal. And this is the key. This is the key to all prayer and all witchcraft that's misunderstood. I have a lot of students in energy come to me and say, well, how do I do tarot reading? And how do I do wands? And it's almost like a trick question to me. It's like, well, you need to work on your body, sir or ma'am. You need to go within, and this is how everything starts to begin with. Your body, your mind connection. And people misunderstand this completely. What is prayer? What is witchcraft? Your connection to your nervous system. Because your nervous system literally has a direct impact on your reality, literally. So that's that's kind of what's correlating here. Your nervous system does have an impact on all the elements around you: fire, earth, wind, water, air, space. It's in the body. As above, so below. And it's amazing to consider that these ancient civilizations, such as Egyptians and the Tibetans, already had calendars of the moon phases. They already had calendars of with detailed planetary alignments. And how? Meditation. There is this through meditation. There was no telescopes back then, at least not to this magnitude we had today. It was through meditation. And so through meditation, not what's being offered and all these distractions, there's ways to access our central nervous system to evolve, so our DNA does not have to be impaired, and we can even heal it. As we grow older, our brain and our neural pathways shut down. That's why kids can see and hear things that we cannot, and animals can. But there is a way to reverse this. There is a way to heal this. And so this is the key to all magic per se, but really it is just something we misunderstand as a whole. We've been able to do these miraculous things since day one, and the government has known this. And so it's good to suppress us. It really is good to suppress us to their view. Because if we knew this as a whole, what is there to control? So they think it's easier to control us in every single way spiritually, body, mind, so we don't access our full potential, quite literally. These tales of masters and spiritual masters exist for a reason. In the tale of Jesus, he was a good man, I'm sure. It's misunderstood, and they use that more as a way to control us. but this story in a way did happen. All it was someone that dug into what they were completely capable of through meditation and yoga. He actually, or this individual, most likely did learn from Tibetan India. And this part is omitted, of course. He possibly did learn everything he could. And actually is scientifically possible to walk on water, levitate, all that good stuff. Yes, of course. It is, okay? It is. Okay, I'm going to say it, but it has to be done with love and protection, to protect. That's why most people won't do it. Because, there's no need to protect. We're nearing that part where we need to protect, though. So I feel it's going to be redundant to not try to, or else we're screwed as a human race, or we're going to be a slave race completely. So all these past masters are trying to say is that we have this central nervous system connection that literally controls our reality around us. If they can lower our vibration and frequency with the electromagnetic grid, and it's been proven that even this screen right now, it's in front of me, in front of you, all these, they emit radiation and a form of frequency that impacts our frequencies here. But we have forgotten as a species that we have this connection already, and we can double it, triple it, quadruple it, and make it so much stronger that no radio transmission can interfere with at all. And so, this, for example, that person, Jesus, was just used an example, a perfect example of never try to do this again, ever try to do this again. So that's why the dark thing there, yeah. So it's fair to say that he was just, and was it prophesized? I'm sure there is prophecies here. Okay, sure, why not? Why, right? That doesn't mean he, was not a son of God, or is, I don't want to step on any religion's toes. So there's a way to Americanize it. It's someone, and all these people were people that tapped into their true ability. Then, and like the Bible, any actually Vedic, okay, the palm leaf scriptures, okay, any Egyptian demonic languages, they all state about immortal life, not dying. It's because you're digging into your own cellular DNA, how to make sure it does not die again, how to make sure you can heal others. And at one point our ancestors knew this, and as a collective, we've been kind of dumbed down and brainwashed, for the last maybe a couple of decades, maybe even more than that, sadly. Ever since Einstein and whatnot, we're not getting smarter as a collective. It seems like we're getting dumber, literally, and sadly, we're not getting smarter as a collective. We're getting too dependent.
We're not allowed to. I mean, school doesn't really even teach anymore. It's just a political medium to turn out children and steer them from any other free-thinking ideology.
Yes.
I mean, look at the food we have. We're about to have huge food shortages. None of this is to get anyone scared or to just incite fear amongst anyone who hears onto the show. It's just by design, humanity is being systematically just broken down, and we're getting attacked from every angle. And that's what makes it hard for, my dad isn't the dumbest person, but he's definitely in a mindset, even though he's a very wealthy business owner, that this could never happen. He's still asleep. He always thinks things could never be this bad, but he's not in touch with any Rockefeller white paper. He's not in touch with cover-ups from the UN. He's not in touch with, I could go on forever. I'll make one more analogy. What these extremely elite, hide behind the shield of being Jewish people do, i.e. George Soros, so he just, all of that to him is either conspiracy theory or it goes in one ear and out the other because he can't relate. But just because he can't relate doesn't mean it's not happening. And two, he projects his naiveness and his mindset onto others.
Right.
So with a complacent last generation, a totally mind just wiped new generation coming up, we've been softened to the point that we're ready to, we're dough ready to be molded into whatever, these elites have for us.
Yes, definitely, Zan. Oh, yes.
Well, let me give you this too. Raymond, this broadcast is only going to come across like-minded people.
Right.
Here's another thing too. And if it were to come across, I guess liberals, you could say, I'll chalk it up with a blanket term. They wouldn't even sit for more than maybe 2 minutes of something like this. So it's like all we're doing is reinforcing and trying to elevate and invigorate the people that think like us. We're not just things are so political now. We're not breaking into any new demographics with this.
Not this way. No. It would take something completely different or new or off the charts, outside the box. like attraction, attracts like attraction and like frequency. So we have to feel that the right frequency will see this, and this will go out there just with this frequency of like-minded frequencies. So we see it from a mathematical context. It is impossible for, at least, yes, most will not see it, but the few that do, there will be a genuine connection there, and we can only hope for the best. And we just have to keep preparing as brothers, and we have to keep preparing as a collective. And so furthermore, this is an analogy for everyone. They need kind of to wake up, or else it's going to be forced to happen. And it's out of our hands at that point. But it's good to install those seeds, like mustard seeds. So we are installing mustard seeds, and we can never underestimate the power of a seed, because it will grow into the mightiest oak out there. And yes, oaks can break. It must be like the willow tree. It must bend with the wind, and it cannot break. And this will be approached. This will happen. It's part of the hero's journey. And in Buddhism and Vajrayana, there's a term that Shakyamuni Buddha and Chogyam Trungpa have mentioned. It's called the hero's journey, and the concept of the Dharma to never give up. And we just have to keep on and keep on with right integrity, with right mind, in the eyes of truth. And we just have to keep on with this battle, because it's something we have to do. We're on a mission here, correct, Zan? And we have to do this the best we can.
Yeah, I feel I'm not gaining any traction is the only thing,
Yes,
I
right.
do everything I can, and I try and talk sense into everyone that I come across that'll give me the
Yes,
time of day, and between my family that will never wake up, and just all the hate from liberals I receive from speaking the truth and not trying to flatter
right.
myself with running for United States Senate, which I'm not in any way going to hesitate to run again, and for governor here in Louisiana where I am. I'm never going to stop, even though I feel like I'm not gaining any traction, because I can never forgive myself for not acting. But I mean,
Well, you're a strong being running on a broken system. It's not you, it's the system you're running on.
I completely agree, and I that's the only, I don't want to say fantasy I indulge in, but it's the only way I can equalize or justify or rationalize or quantify this. Me not, yeah, it's a broken system. And I mean,
Right.
even though Donald Trump was better, you can swap out the driver of the car, but if the car's fucked up and doesn't have tires, it's not going to get
Right.
anywhere. It's the
That kind
bureaucracy.
of goes part with what I mean about no president can truly make a difference, even if they try, because there's this huge group that is in control. Okay. No matter what president, even if they're good, they can't do much, because, and we've seen there is assassinations involved here. We've seen that. Okay. We've seen that. Okay. If they overdo it, we've seen what happens. Okay. So that's it's like almost some people, okay, the American and some Westerners would say, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But it does make a difference. And you cannot give up on yourself, but this country and the system is broken, and it does need to be rewritten in a way. It truly does. And we have to hope for the most peaceful type of civil war, the most peaceful, and when I say that, I mean there's a way to overdo it and hurt innocence, and there's a way we as a people can just literally take back what's ours. But of course, people are going to make it more dramatic than they have to, and that's possibly going to happen in a few years. I say we have a few years, though. It's not gonna, nothing drastic is gonna happen for a few years anyway. But still, we can all see that going to the crescendo, and we can see that, and it's not too late. It is not. The answer is not lie in politics, sadly, because it's still part of. Even if it's not their fault, they're in a corrupt system. It's not their fault. No matter Donald Trump's, it's not his fault. It's not Pelosi's fault. It's not anyone's fault. Any. Even if they're worse, okay. But point being is that this is a corrupt system, no matter what. Period. And they're only gonna let them say so much anyway. That's why I don't get too much to politics, but I do say that much though. No matter what, they're only gonna be allowed to do so much, quite literally. So the thing here is, like, as a collective for the people, and the best thing you can do, literally, I know at first this sounds cliche, but it is true. The best thing a person can do is wake themselves. So with that transformation physiologically, and that literal difference in your brain, and waking up all the locked dormant signals in there, you will affect people around you. You will, literally. It's not a metaphor. your aura, your energy, your frequency needs to raise, and this goes for many people, and this will
No,
affect
with
others.
Raymond, I think I've only affected people in a negative way. I've only pushed people away. Yeah, I've made some people grow closer to me like you, but to be honest, I mean, my family, they think I'm fucking insane. And that's what hurts the most
Right.
is
Yes.
they don't take me serious and they
Right.
think I'm indulging in a fantasy. None of them watch any of my YouTube shows. You know, they just, this isn't some boohoo shit at all. And I haven't lost faith. I don't feel sorry for myself at all. I'm just saying it hurts whenever the people you love the most think you're the most crazy and they've already wrote me off. Like there's no coming back. Xan will
Right.
always be the fucking crazy guy that thought and taught and talked about aliens and everything he says has to do with the conspiracy because every subject they talk about, I can literally derive it back to no, let me tell you how that timeline's been hijacked. You know, it's like then they don't want to hear it, but they don't understand
Right.
the matrix of deception. And it's like every fucking thing we know is a fucking lie.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
nothing personal. I don't say it to undermine your job. You know, so and so's a doctor, so and so's an attorney. You know, the Supreme Court won't even
Yes.
uphold the law, won't even help out Donald Trump. The top is
Right.
rotten. Medicine is completely hijacked and has been Rockefellerized, I think, completely by the 1930s. You know, I mean, when the therapeutic narrative is completely owned and actual cures to cancer are confiscated and suppressed, and whatever a gasoline engine that can get, you know, or carburetor that can make 100 miles an hour practical is suppressed and that guy disappears, or whenever I could continue with antigravitics and water, you know, engines that are when all that, you know, it's just arrested development, you know, it's the powers that shouldn't be govern any sort of disruptive technology on a level with resources that we just don't even have. I think no matter how rich you are, you know, so I do understand what you're saying. I wish I could do more. It's just a crying shame where we could be. And it's my number one gripe in this life of what I'm conscious of in this 3D bodysuit of being 32 years of age. You know, it just kills me because every day I could wake up and just do so much more if I just had the resources or if I could just get some sort of mainstream uh, um, traction. And you too, does that have to be me? And like, I don't care who gets it first. I just want our timeline to off tick in the most prospering of ways. And it just, I'm so butthurt that no matter what I do, no matter where I turn, I just run into more obstacles, or if anything, lose my credibility, which blows my fucking mind because if anyone has a logical debate with me, they'd realize, wow, he's not bullshitting and he comes from a point of reason, which everything you and I discuss is that. And it's bittersweet to talk about this with you because one, it makes me feel more normal, but it's almost like taking a drug. It's almost like taking a sip of this. You know, it just feels good for a little while, and then once you and I are gone and we get our I don't know 700 something odd views to this, it's like then you know then it's over, and it's like I just have to wait till next election cycle, and I guess I'll save my money and spend more on billboards and advertising. I don't know what I can do, you know, but
Oh, don't give up. Definitely
no, no,
cannot
not
give
at
up.
all.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. Good. Good. And always strong. Remember this.
yeah.
You know,
No,
you have to remember we are a young species. We're all very young. This
touche,
has been written by
touche.
ancient. I'm
Touche.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. We are a very young species.
Oh
We were
yes.
made.
Yes.
We were made to be slaves for much higher beings. So I mean, I guess
Yes, yes,
we
we
met.
have to. So this has been in the plan for a long time, Zan. This has been in the plan for since before our grandfathers, before our great grandfathers, and they're reaching their end game slowly. Okay, this has been written about in prophecies and Bibles galore. This has been written about in hieroglyphics. Okay, and so there will come a time soon where we have our chance to do something, and we'll get to that point. But the most thing we can do right now is push for our evolution, stay strong, and keep working on that pineal gland. Our brain literally counters this. Okay, open those dormant parts in our mind, open those subtle pathways in our spinal cord, in our nervous system. Okay, and this I you know I know how it sounds at first, but our body is the greatest treasure that we all the time take for granted. And I say that not just from a health point of view, but from a spiritual, mental point of view. Now, when I say spiritual, someone doesn't have to believe in spirit But of course, no matter what, even scientists will say there's a governing force out there that governs everything in a way, whether it be gravity or the Neakea, the swirling of the stars, or there's some type of force. Now, the interesting part, they don't tell you this, is that God is not biased, and God can be harnessed. It can. It's not some man. It's not some woman. It's not a. It's an energy force that can be harnessed. And what has gotten it? Higher forces, in a way. So what is God but this life force of everything? It's the reason we digest food without even knowing it. It's the reason our subconscious does things and we don't even know it. It's partially the reason why we dream. We're on autopilot a lot and it does the rest, just like gravity, just like tides of the ocean. And there is a way to harness this as human beings and as animals too, of course. But I'm talking especially human beings, though, especially. We have a given gift that we're not using yet. And it will get to that point. It will. It definitely will. You know, and there is definitely prophecies involved here that have spoken about this. So when someone's 30, 40, even 60, it seems like all hope is gone. But when you see it from the huge aspect of things, it's going as planned. It is going as planned. And the best way to fight this is our own evolution. We have to push our evolution because they're literally trying to digress our evolution and divert it completely. So what we need to do is push for our evolution because that will override everything completely. And there will be certain things in their agenda they cannot do if we as a collective join this evolution. Now, either way, whether we like it or not, this event's going to happen. The situation's going to happen. But by then, there is ways to govern how it goes down, how bad, how good. But we are approaching a time. It's just part of cycles. That's it. It just sucks for us because we're here seeing it and we're young and it's like, oh, but from a bigger point, it is going according to plan. And there is a reason why all these planets are uninhibited. And that can be us if we're not careful. Because this has been taught in other star systems, and other solar systems, and other planets. This has been taught. And it either was ignored or was not, and that's why you see higher civilizations and aliens. So this has been over and over done with. And this has happened over and over, cycles, okay? And this is our turn now. So if we can just dig into that evolution and as a collective have that spontaneous act of solidarity and build upon each other, we can see an outstanding outcome. We really can. For, like I said, our central nervous system has a way to connect with everything around it. And anything negative, it can just, a lot of things negative, actually even death, can be postponed if not completely just ended because our evolution. We're barely at the brink of a great evolutionary change. So what we need to do is push evolution, and that is part of it. And so when this chaos and our great love events happens, or both, some type of evolution is going to take place, whether we like it or not. We're at the brink of this evolutionary point. We're at the brink of this prophecy point, or whatever one wants to call it. And so
there's such little control, and there just needs to be ideological segregation, and all the people that want to do negative and want to screw each other and they're okay with settling for eating a GMO cheeseburger and all, and just having kids that they just send to some shitty public school, and people that just want to live a good enough life, and people that are in denial. I wish they could all live on one side of the earth, and we live somewhere else. People that will strive every day,
right.
people that care and have compassion for others. A place where it would literally be a utopia, where there'd be just no homelessness and just no, everyone would have food and be happy. And I hate all this. I hate how I never inherited that part of human nature, thinking I'm better than others. I all these nice things that I have and that I've been able to do don't make me better than anyone. I've just acquired a taste for them because I've been lucky enough to either earn them or be exposed to them.
Right. Yes.
And life is short, so I like to enjoy nicer things and
As long as you realize your predicament.
Do what, sir?
As long as you've realized your predicament and you
I
don't take it for granted.
realize it, and I'm ready to get to the next layer of the onion and work my way through.
Yes. And I love how you don't, you no matter what, you stay humble. I respect that.
I always
that.
have, man. I always have. I mean, that's what blows my mind is how people get so out of touch. And there's people that have had less than me that are farther out of touch, and I don't understand that, man. But we'll never prosper if we have that kind of social division.
No, 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 no. And it's sad because there is enough food out there, and there is enough money, and there is enough status, but the way the system is made, it's a dog eat dog world almost, and and you see obviously a tier and a status point at the lowest and at the highest, and the ones at the highest point, no matter how good or bad they are, and many of them bad, sadly, they will not give the food to the poor, and that's a metaphor and literal and metaphorical. You know, so those at the high table, they want to keep this for themselves, and I would not be surprised if they're in cahoots in some shape, way, and form with AI and or higher civilizations. Then there's some
Yeah,
proof in that one, but that's another subject entirely. But yes, there's definitely some proof in that. Yes, definitely. It's
well, they
amazing.
want to
Quite
meddle.
amazing.
People like Bill Gates and George Soros, they want to meddle with us, and that's
Right.
it's like, look, if you made your coin, which I'm sure they couldn't have made it without doing meddling with us, but let's just say you have someone who did well without the not at the expense of others, not through unfair political practices, someone who just started a business or whose family had money and they got to inherit it. It's one thing if they go live their life and hand it all to their kids, that's great. But don't at a certain point get off on this whole social engineering and cutting corners at whatever business practices you put out. Like, let's just say, McDonald's was still a proprietorship. Whenever McDonald's first started, none of that shit was GMO. All that stuff was made with care out in Burbank,
Correct. Yes,
California.
yes, yes.
It took, I guess, Ray Kroc taking that idea and then making it public, and then just people that step up and think, you know what, I'm telling you, this is the mentality of these elites. If they're dumb enough to eat the GMO and they can't get proper education, that's their problem. They are free range humans. That's how they can, I guess, justify all of this. If you're dumb
Right.
enough to take all these prescription pills and drink this Coca-Cola, rot your teeth, blow out your fucking liver and your pancreas, that's your fucking problem. And just like
Right.
with these vaccines coming out, you're
Yes,
dumb enough
yes.
to go get this. You get cancer, you're sterile, all the above. That's your fucking problem. And guess what?
Right.
When those things do happen to you, we feel better about ourselves. And that was our agenda in the first place. But they
Right.
get us to hang ourselves.
Yes,
You know?
yes, yes, definitely.
And when
It's
we want
all
to
it's
talk
all
about this
there.
point to other people, like I wish I could just walk up to Joe Blow on the street and say, you know what, these vaccines are a complete farce. It's a fucking joke. Masks are
Yes.
useless. All this stuff,
Yes.
and not have the reaction of conspiracy theorist or weirdo or
Right.
wild.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes,
just the
brother.
common
Yes.
knowledge. I mean, and that's when I exited the whole workforce. Whenever the second masks rolled out, and I was like, this is bullshit.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't treat freedom as if it's disposable. Okay, I don't. I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying just to all these losers out there that wear their mask and think they're doing their part and all this stuff. It's like,
Yes. Yes.
because you acquiesce to the mask, guess what?
Yes.
Here comes the next thing you got to acquiesce to. It doesn't stop. It's a loaded gun, and it's got another
Correct.
round. Okay,
Yes.
good. You wore your mask. Okay, great. This is what we have planned next. If we would have stopped and held our ground at the mask and said, "Fuck no, we're not going to be dehumanized and breathing our own carbon dioxide," which, oh wait,
Right.
hold on, elites, your narrative isn't making sense. You label carbon dioxide a pollutant, and so we need to get taxed for it. Hold on, what is it? We can breathe it in, but we can't, let it get in the atmosphere. It's a complete crock of shit.
Right. It makes no
So,
sense if you really think about it. But it
yeah,
saddens me how many people bought into this. It's
I
amazing.
understand the
Wow.
people that are in a bind that have to continue to work. At a certain
That's
level,
true. Make a point. Yes.
it hurts me. Those people have to go along with it. But still, if all of them would just stop just once, just go maybe
Yes.
1 week without a paycheck, if we all could just synchronize our stopping, then the system would collapse. And then we would
Right.
then have
Yes.
control because there'd be no one sweeping floors, no one making hot dogs, no one,
Right.
So,
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know. I just think of solutions all day, but all of them are extreme because we're in an extreme situation.
Yes, we
You know?
are. We're
To
reaching an
return back to
imperative,
normal,
important
we're gonna
point.
have to kick them in their globalist fucking ass. The only thing
Yes, it's
about going
reaching
for
that
them is
point.
they're complacent, they're lazy, and they always have someone else do their dirty work. They can never come and do this. David Rockefeller would never like tap on a mic and be like, "My fellow said, hell no." They sit behind some billion-dollar house and have highly paid, very ambitious people with tons of dirt on them that are completely compromised go and do all this dirty work for them. There's layers and layers and layers of this onion, if you will. That's my analogy.
Yes, no,
And,
that's true.
and
No, you're right.
they're
Yes.
weak, shitty people that are just constantly seeing what they can get away with. That's it.
Yes.
masks. I mean, who would have known that's how desperate they were to take over and exert their power
Right.
over us? I mean,
Yes.
they're so
5 years ago,
desperate
I
they have
never
to
would
do
have
it
thought
in
this would have
masks.
happened. Yeah. It's amazing. I never would have thought this would happen. A few years ago, and someone says this is going to happen.
Well, no,
How
nor
would
did OSHA, or nor did any building codes of any municipalities
Yeah.
that would
Yes.
go along with tons of plexiglass everywhere, one way in, one way out.
Right. Yes.
It's a fucking
Wow.
fire hazard.
I know. Yeah.
Goddamn joke, and it's a political statement. Also, too, everyone wearing these fucking masks. OSHA would tell people in their guidelines, people only wear masks for so long before they have to take a break, breathe in oxygen, get their O2 level,
Yeah.
and swap and wear a new one. But none of that matters now because it's ideology over income. It feels too good to virtue signal. And the average Joe
And
Blow on the street.
didn't they say 2 weeks at first?
Yeah, we
2 weeks
already
of
passed the
masks.
1 year anniversary of 2 weeks to
Yeah.
fire.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And you know what?
Ah.
You live out in Texas. You
Yes.
live over there where
Yes, sir.
Adler isn't your is Adler? No, he's of Austin. Who's your mayor?
I live in San Antonio.
Who is your
So-
mayor of San Antonio?
I can't remember offhand. I'm sorry, brother. I'm
All
sorry.
good. Whoever he is, I know that they're all fighting to keep the masks on when the governor lifted it. And like, what does that tell you? People are now, they've completely acquiesced to their
Yes.
subservience to the state. And we're ripe for the taking. We're ripe to be conquered. We're ripe to just be ass fucked by the long dick of the corrupt establishment that will never be satisfied, even after they ass fuck us.
Yes. All this violence is happening now, just a lot of it in Texas too, but pertaining to masks. A lot of violence just upon these simple, sad subjects. I mean,
You've heard of the Alex Jones show, right?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes.
On his show, he used to host a fella named David Knight. David Knight since spun off and does his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
David brought a story up. It was really funny. I think this happened in Atlanta, and a guy without a mask goes into a chicken joint and demands, chicken. Well, he wanted to pay for it. And so all the people with masks on said, no, get out of here. You have to have a mask. So he gets pissed. He storms out. He returns without a mask again and a gun, and he demanded chicken from masked people on the inside. And I just thought it was ironic. It's like the workers are now wearing masks and the criminals are maskless,
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
It just highlighted, a microcosm of this sinister agenda that's being rolled out on us, shoved down our throat. We can't turn it off no matter where we turn. And it's sold to us like we need it, like, oh,
yes,
news,
yes,
oh,
yes.
these news anchors that are making millions a year, oh, we're doing you a favor, little,
Right.
Little person that watches us, you little
Yes.
pathetic, dirty disease.
Exactly. Right. Yes. Yes. It's right there in subtext. Yes. And they make it quite obvious what they really think of us. They really do. It's out there in subtext. It really is. This is right there between the lines. Yeah, and they expect
Raymond,
us
they
to
don't
go
respect us. To roll this out, they don't respect us. To screw us over, they don't respect us. To send us to school and not teach us anything that actually makes money, will actually bring about our well-being, they don't respect.
Definitely.
And I
Definitely.
have too much respect for my fellow human to fuck them like this. And on my
Exactly.
deathbed, I'll have a clear conscience. And I don't say that like I have the moral high ground. I'm not better than anyone. I'm just saying I'm not living a fucking lie. And
Exactly.
I sleep like a fucking baby at night.
Exactly. Yes, yes, yes. And they don't respect us. They don't. And most of us, they've already made it clear in their own little words that there's a depopulation plan. This is all part of that plan, and they made it very clear. What is the Georgia Guidestones? That makes it quite clear about at all
Ted
times.
Turner put those out in Georgia. Yeah.
Okay, yes, right. Yes, yes, yes. So, and that correlates, in a way. Yes, yes, indeed.
Yeah. Well, what would you like to finish with?
Oh, well, I guess I'll circle back.
Yeah.
And basically, so in the Hindu and Egyptian and the Tibetan lineages, it goes back to no matter what, we have to remember, we have to push this evolution. We have to dig deep into our physiology. And right now, what's happening is a war in consciousness and a war in evolution as a whole. Okay. And if we can take back our governing rights as human beings and as a species and as a collective, we can push our evolution forward in an amazing way. Right now, they've completely found a way to hijack evolution. Fascinating. All these, GMOs and this fluoride in our water, and, constant TV and telling us how to think and react. It's literally changed our evolution code. It's changed our genetic code in a way slow, and especially with these vaccines, they're experiential drugs, and that's amazing. They're experiential. They're experiments in a way. They've even said that this is not researched fully, and yet people are getting fooled into getting it and think it has nothing to do with prophecy and or what's been said by cultures. Now, what amazes me fully, and this is coming from a shamanic point of view, you have to understand. And with you, you're one of the few, if not the only one, I can blend being a shaman with and a friend, which is a gift upon itself. And I want to say thank you. But the point being is that, so from a shamanic point of view, from a guru's point of view, this has been prophesied for a long time. This has been said for a long time by cultures of many different races and different lands and different colors. So when this finally happens, people don't understand. They listen to the government. This is directly linked to what's been said. This is directly, completely correlated to what's been said in any Bible. And no one can get mad at the Bible. Someone wants to get mad at the Bible, get mad at the Vatican for rewriting the Bible. No, so it's really the Vatican that rewrote the Bible in their image.
The Vatican, which is what Rome imploded into, has been hijacked by homosexual freaks of nature.
Oh my God! Yes, sir. Wow. Yes.
Mary Magdalene was actually Jesus's wife, but they made
yes, sir.
Very
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Yes, sir. And there's proof to this. Yes, that she was one of the disciples, but the church couldn't have that. The church couldn't have that a woman knew as much as Jesus could. And it's written in certain texts, okay, that and they're hidden in the Vatican. Now, why is that? In the Room of Tears. Okay, interesting. There's a room called the Room of Tears where all these texts are taken out and no one else can read in the Vatican. And this says in detail that Mary Magdalene was taught certain things and not even the disciples were taught. Okay, that he chose her for the most information to divulge upon her. And there's even information that he went to India, and there actually is, and then again, that's locked away. But the point being is that he taught this to her in detail, actually, and that she was one of the disciples. And, there's so much of his story and her story that's not said. And it's quite amazing and sad, honestly. But that's another point, another story. But it's amazing that these events did happen in a way, even if someone wants to say they correlate to Egypt and Isis and Horus. Yes, in a way it does. Yes, and it was written by the Vatican and all this for their favor, to control the people. They found a beautiful way to connect church and governing states, and the government and how to control people. United and put in a story of don't fuck with us and don't try, or end up crucified. And so simply, I mean, that's the way I can interpret it, at least. And same one for his wife. They just omitted her from history. Omitted. That is amazing and tragic. Wow, it's just horrible. It really is. Anyone that goes against this governing force, they're treated as an example almost. Now, someone could say, well, if someone like him and he had tapped into something couldn't do it, then what hope is there? Because the message is clear. We all can do this, though. We all can tap into this, though. And that's the point of any of these masters, Buddha, Shakyamuni, any avatar out there was just trying to tell us we can do it too. This governing life force has come into humans, if someone wants to call it that. It is and that's why you see these masters in the past that are trying to tell us we can as a collective before it's too late. And and he was just one of many. And there's a big misunderstanding of dogma and everything. And they turn it around into a more religious point of view. And it doesn't have to be religious at all. Honestly, it doesn't have to be. No. I don't believe in religion. But I do believe in the truth of the matter. I do believe in lineages. And I do believe in the truth. And so as a species, we just need to dig hole and have this act of solidarity. And we can push this forward. We can overcome. We can.
That's why we do this show.
And so anyone that needs to contact me, I'm there for any little thing.
Yeah, I'm going to put all your information in the bio. So what else would you like? I have your cell phone and email.
Yes. Cell phone, email, and just my title, Nyingma Lineage Holder.
I got that right here.
Yes, sir. Quite simply put, brother.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, maybe a couple of weeks I'll see you.
Yeah, whatever you want, man. Just let me know.
Okay, cool. Okay, hey.